in my keynote, I would like to address the green transition of the EU with the focus on the EU, but nevertheless to give you a whole picture what is the situation in the world as we undergo actually technological revolution. And this affects not only Europe, not only US, but the whole world. And just to give you a context to this revolution, technological revolution in the green transition, I would like to start with the Paris Agreement requirement to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. And the whole world, I think apart from 3 countries, if I remember well, Libya and 2 other countries who haven't signed the Paris Agreement, the whole world, Ukraine itself as well, committed itself to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. In case of the European Union, the member states have decided to and agreed on the climate neutrality of the whole continent of the European Union by 2050. Even on the path to this climate neutrality, there is another already target proposed by the European Commission to reduce by 2040 by 90%. So we are on the path to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. And this is possible. Even if there is a growth, economic growth. You can see from this graph that already over the years between 2019 and even further 2008 to 2021, the greenhouse gas emissions have been reduced by more than 20%. By the same time, over the same period, the EU GDP has increased by 9.3%, which shows that the green revolution and green transition to the neutral, climate neutral economy is possible. So we don't, sacrifice our growth. No, we can grow by the green transition and by changing our economy to carbon neutral economy. We are not alone, we European Union or America, on this path. As you know, as you might know, in the European Union, we have agreed in 2019 the European Green Deal. So it's a big package, big pact of many reforms, and I will unpack a little bit later. And this huge package, which is worth 254 billion of euro, is exactly a package that helps us to change our economy, our industries, our technologies, everything actually, our jobs, everything on the path to be carbon neutral. At the same time, or around the same time, that was 2019, 2022, US has put the biggest climate bill in its history, called Inflation Reduction Act, that is worth 369 billions. And this package is now being implemented, and I can see it here in Berkeley when researching on my research project how this implementation is ongoing. The so-called ERA Act is based on subsidies and tax incentives to curb the industry and the new technologies to go to transit to zero net industry sectors. At the same time, China has also agreed such a package. It's $280 billion. As well, Japan, for 140 billion, more or less, for 140 billion euro for the different packages of different instruments. The same is for Canada, 16 billion. So you can see that the whole economy is changing, is on the way to to be carbon neutral, as this is the part of the Sustainable Development Goals strategy and as it's a part of the Paris Agreement. I would like to share with you a little bit more about the program of the reforms that is inevitably on the way of being implemented. Already in 2019, the European Commission has proposed a huge package of reforms in the most important energy consuming sectors. And not only, we have established the climate law and climate funds. We have established all other aspects of the European Green Deal that support the climate neutrality by 2050. And I hope that you see the slide with the package of these reforms, which is called Fit for 55, meaning 55% reduction by 2030 of the greenhouse gas emissions. And by doing so, there is on the way of being agreed, approved to certain elements of these reforms have been already approved by the co-legislator European Parliament and the European Council. And the final and we are in the final stages of approving the whole package, the whole legislative framework for the European Green Deal. So as you can see, there are many different regulations, like European emission trading system that has been reformed and that has been expanded. It's about the trading system of the carbon credits, the compliance market about the carbon. In order to introduce all these changes, the Social Climate Fund has been introduced to have an just transition, so that vulnerable consumers are not left behind, but are on board in this green transition. Member states have agreed on their national plans, and this is captured in so-called effort sharing regulation. Each member state has its own path to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in area of industries, of agriculture, of buildings, of energy efficiency. So you can see that every country in Europe is contributing to the ultimate goal to be carbon neutral continent by 2050. We have also the regulations that concern the emission standards for cars, vans, trucks. The regulation that is introducing land-based net carbon removals, so-called LULUCF regulation. There is a regulation on or directive on the renewables that fix the target of reduction of introducing of the renewable energy in the energy mix of Europe by 42%. So it's binding target by 2020-30. And the same goes on for each aspect of this transitional reforms in energy efficiency, in the ships industry, and so on. I wouldn't like to continue on details on that, but I would go further to the situation which we are facing now. Namely, because of this shift of this paradigm from the so industrial economy to the green transition, to the net zero economy, because of these packages that have been agreed in so many countries, we have a global market that is worth 600 billion by 2030. What does it mean? That means actually that or in order to be competitive and in order to be, to lead this green transition, the big economies in China and US and Europe are racing, so to say, being a leader, becoming a leader in the industry, in the net zero technologies. We know that those who have a lead in technology can lead later on the most critical technologies and their supply chains. So that's important also for Europe to be a leader in in the green transition that has been agreed in European Green Deal back in 2019. So this is the huge market, which now everybody, each country is looking for a vast share of this in this market. And that's why in the European Union, and also in response to the ERA Act in America, in US, member states agreed on so-called Green Deal Industrial Plan as a supportive plan for the technological revolution in coming years. And I would like to give you a short overview only of the most important acts that have been agreed and that started to work, namely the Net Zero Industry Act, which is on the way to be, there wasn't just 2 weeks ago, no, sorry, 2 months ago, and the political agreement, and now as we are waiting for the entering into force of the Net Zero Industry Act, and I will unpack this a little bit later, to support the competitiveness of the European clean technology industry. The same was Critical Raw Materials Act. In order to be technologically advanced, you need certain materials like lithium, like graphene, on all of those are mostly in the countries, not of the European countries. So there is a Critical Raw Materials Act to prepare this green transition in Europe. Very recently, seeing how the other countries and the other big economies work with subsidies, Europe started to prepare itself for this kind of crisis and prepared the rules on state aid. And these rules help member states to provide support in very flexible and practical and very importantly is in very speedy way to help and to give injection in order to speed introduction of these new technologies for the clean tech production. And it's in the form of 13 billion in state aid measures. So this should allow member states to be very flexible and quick to address the challenges ahead. Recently, last year, the Commission also proposed, on top of many instruments of, for example, Innovation Fund or EU Next Generation Fund, and all other instruments, the strategic technologies for Europe platform that should support the clean, deep technologies, and that should support introduction of the biotechnologies as soon as possible. So it's another instrument that, so to say, on the way to green transition that should support European leadership. And let's not forget that this is not possible if people are not skilled. Europe has a shortage on skilled people. I think actually each economy has a shortage of the skilled people. I believe that some of you are from academia or even parents of teenagers, of students, and I believe that this is the next, so to say, the big advantage of the economy lies in the skilled labor. So if we don't have people who can implement all these technologies, we won't win the race, and we will not be the leader in the green transition. Therefore, there was many measures just introduced last year's European Year of Skills, where the big support has been given to the different countries, and the countries have mobilized their different programs in order to skill young people, but also to reskill the current labor to be prepared for this green transition. I think I can already say that in 1 week I will be addressing exactly the matter of the green skills and the importance of it in the next week webinar. So bear with me, and please feel invited for the next week when you are interested in more in this topic. I said about the context that the countries, the global economies are in the race to get a leadership on the green technologies and on the technological revolution. In order to do so, we introduced in Europe the simplified regulatory environment. Some elements I have mentioned to you. There are some big package financial support programs in order to access in the quicker way funding for that. I mentioned the skills, and I would like to mention as well that we also cooperate and look after the open trade for resilient supply chains with other competitors, but also with other economies. So it's important to see the context of the whole transition to the carbon neutral economy. About the enhanced skills, I just wanted to tell you that this missing labor is about 1 million people of the skilled people in the deep tech talent. So it's a really big gap that we need to address as soon as possible. Within the context, of course, Europe has realized, especially when the invasion in your country of Russia happened, and when the dependency on energy from Russia, on gas especially, happened. And in this context, I think it's important to know that the green transition is a huge step to make Europe independent from the energy mix for the main providers of the energy. I will move now to the next slide. Let me have a look. Yes. I have mentioned already, the big economies that follow the same path to be leader in the green transition. But let me just mention to you dependencies of different sectors. First of all, there is a huge need in investment for this to happen. Around 640 billion is estimated that the money needs to come in order to move to the net zero technology, and that the supply chains take over these technologies. Of course, there are many barriers, and I will mention here only 3 of them: the global supply chain and price constraints. Here is especially the dependency or the dependency on certain products from China. In that sense, especially we have seen in Europe when Europe was the global leader in solar photovoltaic for the years, still in 2018 was the global leader. that has been overtaken by China. And you can see from the graphic here provided by the by the International Energy Agency, how the dependencies are there in different sectors. You see then in the red is China, so that's the global provider in several the industry sectors, in PV, in the wind, onshore, offshore, in batteries for the electrical vehicles, and for the trucks. I have addressed already the lack of skilled workforce that is missing. Not only 1 million of the talents in the deep tech is needed to be attracted in Europe. It's just as an example, I give you that, in order to introduce the hydrogen sector, to move to the hydrogen, to the renewable hydrogen, we need 180,000 skilled workers. So it's a big amount of people that need to be reskilled or upskilled. And especially now you have seen the dependencies globally from the critical technologies like semiconductors in Taiwan. Recently was earthquake there, and there is a huge dependency on the delivery of semiconductors needed for many technological products and industries from Taiwan. At the same time, there is a shortage of that, and so the global chains are depending on very particular countries. And you can see in this graph that was done, I believe, last year, that in all this, in most of these technologies, China is overtaking or is taking over the leadership. Europe has still the leadership on the wind energy, but it's the strongest player with 30% of the global share of the market. Nevertheless, it's exactly the time where we are living, where this dependency quickly change, and sometimes it's a matter of 3, 4, 5 years, and it's often in relation to the heavy subsidies to the labor forces, cheap labor force, and heavy subsidies, especially in China, as it has been pointed out in the speech of our Vice President Vestager last week. So let's move to the next slide, where I just recently took from the Bloomberg, showing how much we still are reliant on coal, and some of the member states of the European Union, like Poland is my country, is heavily dependent, in 40% still, on the fossil fuels. Also Czech Republic. So you can see, and you can see also Ukraine in more than 20%, or I believe even more. So you can see that all these economies that are now heavily still dependent on the fossil fuels will have a big task to reform their economies to the on the path of the green transition. We are not yet, especially in case of certain countries here. I just would like to give you the last year overview of the leadership in certain technologies, and just to see that these technologies have been addressed in the documents mentioned before, not only documents, of course, but in the reforms and the targets in the European Union. I think the slides will be provided, so you can read a bit later on, but you can see where, in which technologies the leaders are. And in terms of battery, for example, the leader were in 2010 was in Japan, but that it moved already. So you can see that there's a very dynamic situation currently, and the race is now taking very much over to be to be a leader in these technologies. And back to the rationale, still, I wanted to show you the differences between the last year and this year. And this is from 11th of April, so it's just 10 days ago, produced graph showing in red how dependent the world is on different technologies. In red is China, then in blue US, and then Europe. So we have a huge, how to say, task, especially to not only to catch up, but to take over the leadership and to be in leadership. And the European Green Deal agenda is helping, and also net zero and industry plan is helping to get there. So what do we need to do, and what actually in most of the economies country are doing? So in Europe, we decided that one of the bottlenecks was permitting. So now within 12 months to certain different projects, but that permitting needs to speed up to 1 year for big strategic projects. So that should be addressed as soon as possible. Investments, I mentioned certain funding possibilities. So you can see that we need to have a speedy, flexible investment funds. Markets have been addressed through the different instruments, like the flexible public procurement, or the auctioning of buying new technologies, buying different elements in this technologies. So that's very important, that Europe becomes more flexible by using different market instruments. About the skills, I have already mentioned. I will not mention furthermore. In the innovation area, member states of the European Union have the regulatory sandboxes, so the places where they can figure out how it works in their economies. It's kind of the pilot initiatives, and to promote actually innovation in this leading technologies. And in the end, we need to have a strong governance in the European Union in order to work together, because, as you know, we have a single market in Europe still that needs to work stronger in order to be competitive towards our main competitors and towards other global economies. Important as well in this context is not only seeing other economies as competitors, but to craft innovative and international partnership in that sense with the other countries and economies. In order to be competitive, the research and innovation has been speeded up, and we have a special Horizon Europe program in which the focus is on the advanced manufacturing technologies, on the technologies that have been strategically announced in the Green Deal Industrial Plan. The biggest innovation fund instrument helps to introduce these projects already on the way, and there is a big financial envelope being used by different consortia in order to be competitive. I will move to the next one, and saying as well, we are in the era of the artificial intelligence. We are talking about the new technologies, new quantum technologies, And it's a matter of the national and also European strategy and security. So therefore, in order to be vigilant and in order to focus on the risks that come with the new technologies and with this this change to the different types, to the green, to the carbon neutral technologies, four risks have been identified, especially the risk of the resilience of supply chains. I have mentioned the case of the Taiwan's earthquake, but there are, of course, other risks related to the supply chains, especially to the raw materials that are needed for the technologies to be implemented. And there is the technology leakage in that sense that of course those who have lead in technologies will control the most critical technologies, and that's of course is important to be safeguard in the technological situation now. And we saw, especially in certain areas, we have seen that that these economic dependencies are weaponized. So that was in the case of the dependency on energy still 2-3 years ago, and it's very big matter, so to say, of the dependency in the future to come. So that's why the European security is focused on four critical areas. Semiconductor technologies, I think that's not only European, but also in the US and in China. So to mention only those, the leading economies, but also in Japan. AI technologies, I am close to Silicon Valley, and I see how important and how to say this, artificial intelligence is on everybody's mind, not only in terms of the technology, but on the ethical and connected to it ethical aspects, legal aspects, private data privacy aspects. So it encompasses a lot of different spheres. Quantum technologies, recently, up to now, there was no quantum computer in Europe. Now we have 4, and I think that's also a critical area for the future technological leadership. And not to mention, as a least, biotechnologies, which we, I believe, all understand that that's one of the main areas that the technology is going. So me personally, I'm dealing more with the green finance, sustainable finance, and I see that in order to support the move to the net zero technologies, we need to have a strong and solid financial framework, and we are not yet there. In terms of funding as such, there is a target at the EU level to invest around 1 trillion even in the next decade in sustainable investments, and most of the money comes from the financing instrument, which is called Next Generation EU. I don't want to go into the details of that, but the member states are obliged to invest 30% of the budget into the green investments, and we are on the path there. Also, it's very much important that that all these investments do not make a harm to the nature and to the environmental objectives. I haven't mentioned the other part of the European Green Deal, which is biodiversity strategy, which is zero net pollution plan, which are many elements in the water management systems, in the circular economy systems, in all these other aspects. But they are equally important, and they are also need to be taken into account, and they are embedded in the financing. So you can see that the green transition is not only, how should I say, focusing on the technology, but also making sure that the financing is being done in the sustainable way. What I mean with that is that the budget is devoted and can be tracked, so to say, the funding can be tracked, whether this EU budget was spent for the green investments with the requirements for the environmental objectives. And also within this framework of sustainable finance, the European Union has, for the first time ever, has raised money on the capital market in form of the green bonds, and as a leading, investor, so to say, or leading market that attracts investor to invest in the green transition, especially in Europe. Then green bonds, the issuing of green bonds is a very vital and important element of the overall framework for that. In that context, we also introduced so-called taxonomy, the kind of framework, or the Wikipedia of the book, what kind of industrial activities or economic activities are, so to say, green, and to which extent, and how to transition from the brown economy to the green economy. So you can see that not only, how should I say, from the industrial point of view, the focus needs to be on the green transition, but also from the financial point of view, from the environmental point of view, and from the corporate point of view. I just recently discussed with the commissioner in charge of the financial services who came to UC Berkeley, where the differences between different legal frameworks for corporates are and persist and exist. In Europe, we have a certain framework for the disclosure and reporting about exactly the climate change action of each company that it has headquarters in Europe and has a certain amount of employees. And the same kind of framework is being done in California, which is a little bit more stringent and closer to the European one, but it's different at the US market. So you can see that without, for example, free movement of the capital between the continents, it will be difficult to move to invest in the green future and in the green transition. So therefore, the European Union has put emphasis on ring fencing this green transition to happen on every aspect of the economy, including capital market, including sustainable finance, and other economies are doing the same on different paths. I must say that here European Union is a leader in the sustainable finance, in the taxonomy, and leader, and I hope that it will help very much to attract investors who will be willing to invest in Europe in exactly these sectors I have mentioned in my previous slides. I think I would stop here and ask for questions and invite you to engage with me, and I will be happy to reply to any questions you might have.